On the night of August 14th, 2022, a 911 dispatcher in a quiet Chicago suburb received a call that would stay with her for years. The caller was barely coherent. She kept repeating two words over and over. "He's bleeding. He's bleeding." By the time patrol units reached the address, a large two-story home on a tree-lined street, the house was silent. No shouting, no struggle. Just broken glass on the kitchen floor, a toppled dining chair, and a young woman standing motionless by the counter, staring at her hands. Her brother was already gone. What investigators would uncover in the days that followed wasn't just a story about one terrible night. It was the story of a family that had been quietly breaking apart for over a decade, and no one had noticed until it was too late. From the outside, the Smiths had everything. Mark Smith had built his logistics company from nothing, starting with 2 delivery trucks and a phone, growing it into a regional operation worth several $1,000,000 by the time his children reached adulthood. He was the kind of man who gave to local charities, coached youth baseball, and knew every neighbor by name. His wife Emily was warm, soft-spoken, and deeply devoted to her children. She ran the household with quiet efficiency and was the kind of mother who kept every drawing her kids ever made. They had 2 children, Jason, 26, and Jessica, 29. Jason was charming and easygoing. He had his father's confidence and his mother's warmth. He joined the family business right out of college and had a natural ease with people. Clients loved him, employees respected him, and he played pickup basketball on weekends and called his mom every Sunday. Jessica was different, sharper, more serious. She had graduated near the top of her business school class, taken on an operations role at a competitor before returning to help her father, and quietly restructured 2 of the company's underperforming contracts in her first year back. She worked longer hours than anyone. She rarely complained. She also rarely felt seen. Jessica used to joke that she was invisible in that house, a close friend later told investigators. But it wasn't really a joke. You could tell it hurt her. The favoritism, according to those who knew the family, had been present since childhood. It wasn't that Mark didn't love Jessica. He did in his way, but there was a particular pride he reserved for Jason. When Jason scored a goal, Mark was there cheering. When Jessica won her regional debate championship, Mark sent a congratulatory text from a business trip. Small moments, but they accumulate. As adults, the dynamic calcified. Jason was brought into client dinners, introduced at events as the future of the company. Jessica was handed operational problems and left to fix them quietly, without fanfare. She told herself it didn't matter. Those results would speak for themselves, that eventually her father would see what she had built. She told herself that for years. And then came the dinner in August. It was supposed to be a routine family meal. Mark had asked both of his children to come to the house on a Tuesday evening. Emily made lasagna, Jessica's favorite, which felt, in retrospect, like a small and painful irony. Halfway through the meal, Mark set down his fork and announced that he had been thinking about succession planning. He was 61. It was time to talk about the future of the company. He looked at Jason. "I want you to take the lead," he said. "We'll make it official at the end of the quarter." Jessica later described the moment to a therapist as feeling like the floor had dropped out from under her. She had spent 3 years restructuring the company's operations. She had turned down a competing job offer 6 months earlier because she had believed that her father was watching, that she was being considered. She asked him quietly, "Why?" Mark's answer was not kind. He told her that Jason had the right instincts for leadership, that Jessica was better in the background. Those were the words that broke something open. But what followed was not a quick explosion. It built. Jessica pushed back calmly at first, then with increasing frustration as her father deflected and dismissed. Jason, caught between them, tried to intervene. He told his sister he hadn't asked for this, that they could work it out together. But Mark kept talking. And the things he said, words that had perhaps been stored up just as long as Jessica's resentment, were careless and cutting in a way that suggested he had never truly understood his daughter at all. Emily left the table. She later said she had seen arguments like this before and believed it would pass. It didn't pass. Voices were raised. A glass was knocked from the table. Jessica, trembling with 3 years of swallowed grievance, said things she had never allowed herself to say before. Mark, cornered and defensive, said things that cannot be unsaid. Jason physically stepped between them. He placed his hand on his sister's arm, not aggressively, but firmly, and asked her to stop. She pulled away. She moved toward the kitchen. What happened next took less than 30 seconds. The security camera mounted above the kitchen doorway, installed years ago as part of a home monitoring system, captured everything. Jessica moved to the counter. Jason followed, still trying to de-escalate. There was a brief struggle near the kitchen island. A knife from the wooden block on the counter was grabbed, investigators believe, without full conscious intention, in the chaos of the moment. Jason reached for her arm. The wound was on the left side of his abdomen. He stumbled backward and went down. The camera shows Jessica freezing in place, completely still. But for 11 seconds, she doesn't move. Then she starts screaming for her father. Paramedics arrived within 8 minutes. Jason was transported to Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead at 11:42 p.m. Jessica was taken into custody at the scene. She did not resist. She did not speak. In the weeks that followed, the investigation painted a picture that was sadly familiar to the detectives involved. A family where emotional wounds had been left to fester for years, where communication had been replaced by silence and silence by resentment, until one night when everything converged at once. These cases are never about one night, the lead detective noted in his report. They're about everything that came before it. Jessica was charged with second-degree murder. She pleaded guilty 18 months later and was sentenced to 14 years. Mark sold the company 8 months after Jason's death. He has not spoken publicly since the sentencing. Emily visits Jessica every month. The Smith family's story isn't really about inheritance or money or even a single argument. It's about what happens when the people we love most never learn to say the things that need to be said, when approval gets withheld as though it's a limited resource, when small dismissals are allowed to stack year after year until the weight of them becomes something no one can carry. Was there a moment this could have been stopped? Almost certainly. Many moments. A different word at dinner. A conversation years earlier. A father who knew how to make both of his children feel equally valued. None of those moments happened. And so we're left with this. A family that had everything and lost all of it not in 30 seconds, but over the course of a lifetime. If this story resonated with you, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a family dynamic like this one? What do you think could have changed things for the Smiths? And if you want to explore more stories about the hidden fractures in family life, our true crime playlist is linked below. New episodes every week. Subscribe to The Weight of Secrets because the most dangerous secrets are the ones we keep from ourselves.